Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Dear listeners, you're here with Najma Ansari and we are trying to connect with the Quran. So, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربي زدني علما ربي زدني علما ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير يا فتاه يا عليم وبك نستعين. So, welcome back again, dear listeners, to another episode of Connect with the Quran. And I just always like to recap on where we left off. We have done Surah Fatiha, a bit of Surah Al-Baqarah, Al-Imran, Surah Nisa, and Al-Ma'idah. And the way I like to look at it, try and get a continuity to see a flow of your where is it going, or are they just randomly, anything is being said? No, there is a definite flow, there's a definite nazam, it's called, and a coherence to how the topic builds up. So in Fatiha, we ask for guidance. Surah Baqarah starts with Hudal Linnas, that it is guidance for mankind, and La Raiba Fi, there's no doubt in it. And it pairs nicely with Al-Imran. And so the last passage of Surah Baqarah and the last passage of Al-Imran are beautiful, well worth memorizing for whoever would love to. And there are a lot of Rabbanas in Al-Imran. So Surah Baqarah, we said, talked more to the Yahud, and Al-Imran showcased the Nasara as how you can deviate from Tawheed. And the base things that we kept bringing up to the fore is the fact that the Quran talks about Tawheed, Risala, and Akhirah. Those are three key fundamental sort of headings on with which you can look at what the Quran. If somebody asks you what's the Quran, no, it's very strong on the concept of Tawheed. The oneness of Allah is critical in our faith, and the concept of Akhirah is critical in our faith, and the concept of Risala. Without Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there is no akhirah to be had if you don't follow his way and what he brought down through the Quran. So that we'll get into. And then we have Surah Nisa, which we can say and I'm just giving it to you very in a nutshell fashion. You can say that it highlights family, domestic issues. The very first ayah is a beautiful one that's used at nikah time, and about how we all came from one soul, and how so value and respect and be wary of your relationships. And Surah Ma'idah instead talks more on Sharia level, and how what the constitution should be, how you're eating and you're drinking, everything impacts, and how the non-Muslim often want to erode on us, man, it doesn't matter whether it's halal or haram. So there was the connection between Nisa and Ma'idah, there's a connection between Al-Baqarah and Al-Imran, as the Zahrawain, the two. And so these five, there are different mufassir saying different things, but I like to see them as one grouping. So Fatiha is a Makki surah and the rest are Madani surah. Now we are into a second group, which is composed of 2 Makki surahs and 2 Madani surahs. And here we have Surah number 6 is Al-An'am, and that's what we will be showcasing today a little bit in detail. But I also like to see how it pairs with the next surah, which is Araf. So there is somebody, a great mufassir called of last century, Shah Waliullah Dehlvi, and he wrote a beautiful book in which he gave again a synopsis, a kind of trying to give you an overview of the Quran, in which he talks about how Allah talks to the audience of the Quran is different people. It's all of mankind. Sometimes it's specifically the Muslim, sometimes it's specifically Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, sometimes it's the Quraysh and the disbelievers, sometimes it was the Bani Israel, sometimes it's the Nasara, and many. And it unfolds how it's the beautiful thing of the Quran is it's so filled with wisdom at every level, and how if you get into the mindset of understanding how it's said, so it really unpacks. Allah knows us better than we know ourselves. It unpacks the nature of what the kuffar, the kind of arguments they will come up. So already it preempts and it says, if this is what they're going to ask you, this is what you answer to. So this is what is so beautiful about it. And inshallah, eventually we will look at some of those things too. But just in a nutshell to say that, so these two surahs, An'am and Al-Af, are Makki surahs, and then Anfal and Tawbah are Madani surahs. And so these are the four that go together. Surah Anaam, one of the things about it is it's one of those few surahs, and it's one of the sort of considered a longer surah than one of the short ones. And it was sent down in one shot. The revelation came all together, of the whole surah together. The detail of it, you can go and see how and what was the merit of it and so on. I just want to bring that to the fore. And Araf is also a Makki surah. And so I was talking about Shah Waliullah and how he categorized different audiences, but also a term he used in this for the Quran is something called, that he divided into Ayyamillah and Ala'illah. So Ala'illah comes from like فَبِأَيِّ آلَاءِ رَبِّكُمَا تُكَذِّبَانِ of Surah Rahman, where it says how many of the favors of Allah you're going to deny. So by saying Ala'illah, and this is what Surah Anaam in a way will encapture, is it's talking about the favors of Allah, the favors of Allah to you. And in Al-Araf, it will be looking at the Ayyamillah, the days of Allah, and you can talk about, maybe you could look at it historically as, you know, the different prophets that came, the different ways the community did not believe in them, and those things were highlighted there maybe. But right now for Surah Anam, so it's talking a lot about the blessings of Allah. Then the other thing I'd love to sort of bring to the fore is that when you say Allah, the favors of Allah, highlighting the wisdom and the beauty, look around you, and inshallah the little passage I want to share with you is further up in the middle of Surah Anam towards 94, 95 on nature. And so, you know, just to give us a flavor of, like in Surah Nahl, inshallah, we will look at the bee and what the bee does and how it, you know, pollinates and other things. So, you know, we have so many things that are brought to the fore about nature that it's beautiful. So here I'm going to showcase that eventually, inshallah. But just to give you again overview of how favors of Allah are being talked of, or reminders. And this is one of the surahs which starts with Alhamdulillah. And it goes, Alhamdulillahi Lazi khalaqa samawati wal ard, and that he made, blessed be Allah, all praises to Allah, the one who created the heavens and the earth. And then it goes on. And this surah also says a lot, has a lot of quls in it. Qul, say this to them, and say this to them. So again, Rasulullah is being told in first place, and this is how you invite people. So primarily it is still around Tawheed and bringing in mention of Risala and Akhirah is to reinforce the concept of Tawheed. And they all really go together in every way. Risala sort of reminds me, if you follow this, you're going to come to Akhirah. And what is Risala doing? It's La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. The main thing all prophets highlighted was the concept of the oneness of Allah. They always say, obey, believe in Allah, and then yes, ittabi'u, follow me, because I'm giving you the blueprint, I'm giving you the guidance, the roadmap, how to worship Allah through the ages. And it's always the same message. It's different prophets were given to highlight different things, that they don't cheat, they don't oppress people, they don't do other things, and so on. So there's that historical background to all the prophets of how they bring the message, but it's always the same message. This we really need to have clear, whether it's with Musa alayhi salam, whether it's with Isa alayhi salam, to make clear to the non-Muslim audience is that our message has always been the same. So the Bani Israel, the Jews, are happy with up till Musa alayhi salam, and they don't believe in Jesus. And whereas the Christians will believe up till Musa alayhi salam and Jesus, Isa alayhi salam, but not our Rasul. But this is called the Judeo-Christian tradition, is where they want to stop, but we have it. Judeo-Christian and Islam, they all follow the same monotheistic revealed sources. So, the two things I'd like to remember for these two surahs is Ala'illah and Ayyamillah, which is talking about the blessings first, and then talking about the days as a warning also. But for now, just absorb this, know that they go as a pair. The other beautiful thing I like keep bringing up with you, and inshallah one day if you wish, email me and I'll send it to you. This little story you make around that Surah Fatiha opens the doors, you invite everybody, so you invite the Jews and the Christians, so the next two surahs are Surah Baqarah and Al Imran. Then what you do, you also call their women, that is Nisa, talking about women. And then what you do, you put a table spread. That's what Maida means, a table spread and other. And so you're presenting them with hospitality, food. And so what is Surah Anaam? Anaam refers to cattle. So what you can extrapolate from there, just to make it how to remember the names of the surah, because even that as a starter helps you, just be connected with the Quran, just want to love it. Oh, okay, yes, I know that. And so Surah Anaam being on cattle, you can think of kebabs and all good meaty stuff, and that's what you're putting on you're spreading out. When we get to Araf, I'll just add that little bit of story there too. But just so take this home, the idea of Ala'illah being the favors of Allah, which is what Surah Anaam will be highlighting. So I'll come back in a short while, and so just process this, redo your intentions of why we are wanting to be with the Quran, and for solace for our souls, and so on. So after a short break, I'll be back. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. So we're looking at Surah Anaam as just giving you a synopsis, an overview of the surahs, of how we've done a first group of Makki and Madani surahs. Now this is another grouping which starts with Makki surah. And in the very beginning I had mentioned this is another way of looking at how the Quran, is it Makki or is it Madani, how to look out for the different aspects of how do you know. Makki surahs tend to be short ayahs, bullet point kind of just giving you, and 90% of what it highlights is on Tawheed using Akhirah. So the last two juz are mostly Makki surahs also, in which you're talking a lot about the Akhirah, in which, because reminders help you to jack yourself up and come on track. So here too, being a Makki surah, and look, in a way, these two surahs, or all four of them, you can say, is like a screenshot of the seerah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When you first start on the seerah, or the first thing you want to invite people to Allah and how Rasulullah did when he got up on the mountain, and if you believe me that I'm the Prophet of Allah, and what are we asking for? That you worship the one Allah, that you worship the one God. And so you start by encouraging people with goodness. So a key factor of Makki Quran, of Makki surahs, is those aspects of us in our lives which are universal values. So concept of justice, concept of not killing the baby girl, not cheating anybody. So holistically, those are aspects highlighted to highlight that there is one Allah also for Tawheed purposes. So you start with goodness, with giving good news. Who made you? How were you made? How are you fed? How do you grow? There is somebody there who allows all this for you to happen to you. So Surah Anaam, you can also say, is like a Bashir, is a giver of good news of all that Allah does, how He made you, how He sustains you, how He makes the whole earth beautiful for you to live and benefit from. And the whole purpose of all that is back to what the purpose of your creation is, to worship Allah. And in Surah Araf, we get into more on the Nazir, on the warnings. If you don't take heed, this will happen. After that, you have the Hijrah phase, and then you come into Medina. Now, after you've done enough warning to the Quraysh, when you've invited them kindly and nicely enough to the Quraysh, that's how you start, and then you get to the warning. If you don't take heed, then we had the Hijrah, then you come into Medina, and now eventually what was brought up into Medina was also start preparing for war, because now the only answer for the Quraysh is punishment. And as with the previous prophets, you had it, warn them, warn them, warn them. They can even ask for have the camel come out of the mountain. You can do all that, and even then they are stuck in the mud and they are so rebellious, they don't take heed. So then the punishment comes. So here too, the punishment on the Quraysh comes in the form of Battle of Badr, and how it was the first setback for them. They thought they were the kings of the castle and so on, and instead that was a setback. And the punishment in its worst form was at the conquest of Mecca. So Surah Anfal talks about the battles, Surah Badr and so on, and what happened there, and Surah Tawbah then takes it all the way up to the conquest of Mecca. So these four surahs again have that kind of thing in common. And again, coming back to the idea of Tawheed, in Tawheed, in having belief of ethics, of your basic goodness. So we had with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that a pact of fudul, where we're going to not try to be mean to the oppressed people and so on. So this was even before the Risala, before prophethood. So there's always been in people, in communities, people who do desire goodness beyond my need, my agenda, fill my tummy, my family's tummy. There are those who always love it, and we do have that. So there is that aspect of Tawheed, and then that's when we talk about other humanitarian people and so on. But meshed together goes the Madani phase also, because the personality or putting the ethics in place is in Makki phase, and in Madani phase you have the grooming of the personality, the grooming of the Sharia, because we all know what would we do without wudu? What would we do without the du'as that we say in the morning and the evening? These are all beautiful things, and believe me, us non-Muslims, and they say, but your faith takes care of everything. Before you do this, before you do that. So the whole Sharia, whether it's Salah, Saum, all these came in the Madani phase. In the Makki phase, all the Muslim was told to do of that time was believe in Allah, in the oneness. Know there's an akhirah, know there's an accountability, and know whatever this Rasul is telling you, you follow that. But the Sharia as such, whether it was for the Salah, whether it was for the Saum, only came in the Madani phase. So how is that supposed to work for us in today's days? That sometimes we get top heavy on Sharia. So we're so worried about halal food, we're so worried about this, and yet in my relationship with my in-laws, with my relationship with all those things, I am the pits. So if I'm the pits there, this is being what a friend of mine calls it, menu-based Islam. You select some and you don't select some. It's true, we cannot be 100% on everything, but you can't want to select some things and on other things you are totally the pits. It's your basic humanity. Wherever you are shortchanging somebody else out of their inheritance, out of something else, those are the areas where you need to watch out for too. Yes, you have to worry about your halal food and everything else too, but those are just as important. So just to remember and create that balance. Then we have the flip side, all the way, when we live in the West world, we don't have access to halal food. So we'll say, we'll take the zabiha food, we'll just say a bismillah before we eat something non-halal, and so on. And so we take it to the other extreme, and we consider the fact that we can just be good Muslims. We just need to be good Muslims. We don't swear, we don't do this, we don't do that, and that makes us Allah, inshallah, will forgive us because I do say the kalima. No, the Sharia is incumbent on you. The first thing you will be questioned on is your salah. It's miftahul jannah. It's the salah is what you will be questioned on first. So that goes hand in hand, and we tend to, like, we talk about the secular world or this, and they separate spirituality from life, and that's your private matter. No, our deen is on every bit of our life. So those are the things you do need to keep them together. Don't ever sort of lopsided, man, doesn't matter, I'll just say Bismillah and I'll eat whatever I have to. And by the same token, don't get so, oh, where did you get that meat? Somebody comes to you and they want to check, does it have the halal stamp? Which halal company stamp? Does it have this one or that one? No, that one we don't agree with. And at the same time, you kick your dog, and you don't feed your animals, or you don't do something else. So, and we do create this incongruence in our behavior of, man, but she's just a wife. Never mind if I didn't give her the inheritance. Never mind, that's my sister. She gave it willingly. No, these things do matter, and it's not. You don't put the person in a position of, okay, I'm not going to ask because otherwise I'll get flack. So just watch out for these things. So there, I'd like to sort of leave it for the moment. And inshallah, I did want to share with you a passage of Surah Anaam that I love. It's a beautiful passage. If you want to please go look it up, inshallah, I'll share it next time. But it is from 90. My sort of favorite is because it's on nature. It talks about, look at this, how he created this. And it's a whole passage on nature from ayah 95 on to 99. And inshallah, I'll take you there next time. But for yourself, the whole surah is beautiful. The whole Quran is beautiful. So just go with it wherever you want to randomly open the Quran and just love it. Just love it. Learn to live it. Learn to just want to pass it on. And that's what also the Sahaba of the Makki phase were. They just got the message and they just wanted to share it. When you have something you love, you just want to pass it on and share it. So that's the whole idea of connecting with the Quran, is that we can love it and we can share it and we can live it. So with that, I'll just end for today, and inshallah, may it benefit somebody out there, or a lot of you, and please make dua for all of us here at the channel as well. So wa akhiru da'wahum anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.